everybody, it's Chef Keith here, Cal-Am Food Services Executive Chef. Here to do another cooking demonstration today. Today's demonstration is going to be on sushi and California rolls. So the first thing about sushi, and the most important thing to get right, is the rice. Might take you one or two turns to try it out, but the most important thing is a short grain, sushi grade type of rice. It's a Japanese rice. And the other important thing is how much water you're going to put in there to cook it, and cooling it off properly, seasoning it with your rice vinegar. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and measure out 1 cup of rice. And here I have a fine mesh strainer in a bowl of water. Now you would originally do this in your sink with running water. The idea is to rinse really fast, drain the white water out, rinse again, keep filling your bowl and rinsing again, dumping the water out every couple of seconds until the water comes to almost a clear. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in just a second. It turns quite white on the first couple of rinses. So let's see if I can get this for you without a sink. I have some water over here I can demonstrate with. So you just, so if you're in your sink, you would have your water running. So as soon as you dump this water out, you could refill it. The whole idea is for the rice not to spend a whole lot of time in the water prior to cooking. But you want to get all of the white water out. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to drain. I have another bowl right here. We're going to go ahead and drain this water. And that's why it's convenient to have your rice already in a strainer. So you just dump out your bowl, refill the bowl. So I think I'm going to be able to go ahead and get 2 rinses out of this one. Go ahead and now, sushi originated in the 9th century is the first time it was documented. It was their early ways. It was actually by mistake. It was the Japanese early ways of preserving their fish. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. That's a second rinse. I'm going to dump my water out. And then you would continue doing this until your water became very clear. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put our rice into our pot. And unlike most rice that you know of, where for every cup of rice, it would be 2 cups of water, sushi rice is a little different. You're going to want almost equal parts, or equal parts. So to this 1 cup of rice, we're going to go ahead and put 1 cup of water. So we're going to go ahead and put our 1 cup of water. And then what you want to do is you're going to start this on high. You're going to bring it to a boil and then down to a simmer and cover it. If you have a pan or a pot with a clear lid, that's what I use when I'm at home, so I could actually see when it starts to boil and have the lid on there first. And then while you're waiting for your water to boil, your rice to cook, then you'll start preparing all of your fillings. Sushi can be filled with all kinds of stuff. California rolls are typically an inside-out sushi roll with sesame seeds on the outside. That's where your rice is on the outside, and I'll show you a couple of those, or show you a couple of different things here. You can even fill them with the dessert type of things, like pineapple and thin sliced apples. Before I forget, this is also optional. What I have right here is seaweed. So I'm just going to rip off just a little piece of this. I'm going to wipe it with a wet kitchen towel. Totally optional. It's just going to give it a little more zing to it, a little earthy flavor. So I'm going to put that right in the rice as it's coming to its boil. But yeah, this is a traditional thing that most sushi restaurants would do. It's dried seaweed. And you can get this in most of your Asian marts. You probably wouldn't find it in your Fry's, but most of these, or your Walmart or your local grocery store, most of these items in your bigger grocery stores now on the international aisle will have some of this stuff, like the wasabi. This is something that you would eat the sushi with or the California roll with and garnish. Pickled ginger. It's another staple. It really is. That's what they'll serve it with a little pile, or they'll put it inside their roll. Sesame seeds. I got some toasted sesame seeds, black and white sesame seeds. Just put those off to the side. I already did a little mix so I could show you. So while that's cooking, we're going to go ahead and prep our vegetables. Now, when it comes to the vegetables, you want to go a little bit on the thinner side, and you can add more layers. It's going to be all wrapped up in this nori. It's seaweed wrap, essentially. There's a shiny side and a dull side. You can use either side you want. All right, so our rice is starting to come to a little bit of a simmer here. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put the lid on. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. I'm going to go put the lid on, and I'm going to turn the flame down to low. And we're just going to let that simmer. Now, when you're doing only, say, 1 cup or so, it cooks relatively quick. You're going to spend most of your time waiting for it to rest, cool, so you can use it in the filling. Now, right over here ahead of time, I went ahead and I cooked some. When you come back to your rice and it's all cooked, and I'll show you when this is done, you should see little granules of rice. It should be nice and fluffy. Now, when they say, sushi's made with sticky rice, that doesn't mean it's just overcooked. So, and then here's the wooden spoon that is traditional they will use. It prevents the rice from sticking. So I'm going to go ahead and scoop this rice into this bowl, stainless steel bowl. If you were to look any of this up online, some people say don't use a stainless steel bowl. I haven't found any issues with it. As a matter of fact, I came across a video that Morimoto, I don't know if you're familiar with that gentleman, he's a chef from Iron Chef. I thought I'd see kind of how he does it, and well, he's an Iron Chef, master chef, so he used a metal bowl. I don't see anything wrong with us using a metal bowl. So this is still kind of warm. You want to season it with your rice vinegar. Why it's a little bit warm, and then it will absorb the rice vinegar. And this is actually what makes it more on the sticky side, but just because it's sticky doesn't mean it shouldn't be pliable. So we're going to go ahead. The recipe is right there. When it comes to the rice vinegar, I have a recipe on there that you can make your own, or you can just buy it from the store. But making your own, say, you can add more sugar and have it on the sweeter side. You can add more salt, have it a little sweet and salty, or you can have more of a vinegar punch if that's what you prefer. So it's really all about what you like. There's no real staple or law that says you have to do it this way or it has to be that way. So that's why you'll see many recipes for making your own rice vinegar, seasoned rice vinegar. So here, I've made this several times. So you're going to end up putting about 1/8 of a cup or so to your 1 cup. So I'm going to pour this over the spatula just to kind of help distribute it through the bowl. As opposed to just pouring it all by itself. It distributed very nice, if you could see that. Set the rice vinegar off to the side. And then you're going to, in a knife style fashion, you're going to go back and forth, back and forth. You're going to mix this up real well back and forth, back and forth. You want to get all those rice granules coated with this, the seasoned rice vinegar. So as you can see, it's pliable. It is sticky. So when you get your hands in there, it is a little sticky. But that's important because that's what holds everything together. And then it's extremely important when you are doing this that when you're doing the inside out, where your rice is on the outside of your roll. And so you just keep on mixing. You want to break up any clumps. If you come across any clumps like this, you want to just kind of break that up. Keep on going, kind of in a cutting fashion. Rotate your bowl, bring everything back inside. And then you're going to let this rest until it's cool enough that it doesn't cook or heat up. So room temperature is what you're looking for. You don't want to put it in the fridge though to cool it off. That's what several recipes will tell you. Don't put it in the fridge. You could use a fan, say, if you have a little fan that you keep by in your kitchen or whatnot. So I think I have this well seasoned. I'm going to go ahead and put it off to the side and while it cools, and then we're going to start some of the preparation on the vegetables. So what we're stuffing this with today is going to be some imitation crab, which is a real traditional stuffing. Got a little smoked salmon, some vegetables like avocados. I got avocado, some red pepper, green onions, cucumbers, thin sliced cucumbers. Again, whatever you would like to put in there, you can put in there. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the vegetables. The important part of sushi is just making sure everything is thin and about the same length as your roll. So what I like to do is I'll measure out the sushi kind of like this. I'll lay my green onion in there. I'm going to cut it at the end. Once you have one that size, then you can just take, if you're going to do some more, and you want to decide that green onion is what you're going to do, then you just cut them all at the same length. You discard your whites. And then what you want to do is you just want to make sure everything is thin. So thin strips of the green onion. Again, it doesn't have to be extremely uniform. So I did one end of the green onion. Now I'm going to come back and go right down into the thicker part of the green onion. Just going to set that to the side. Another important thing I should have mentioned, sorry, is your roller. So this is a bamboo roller, and this is what's going to roll your sushi roll. Some people will wrap them in cellophane, saran wrap, to keep them a little clean when you're doing multiples. It makes it really easy in the restaurant business when you are doing multiples of them. Just keep it wrapped in your saran wrap. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my other green onion here. Now obviously, because the green onion is more pliable than some of the other vegetables, you know, having it super thin isn't quite as important. It is easier though if you're going the same length of your sushi roll. Like your avocado obviously is not going to fit from end to end. So I don't have a clear lid, so I'm going to peek in here and see where we're at. You want to cook the sushi rice just until the water is gone. It's almost there. It's almost there. But when you come back to your pot, you should see a nice fluffy rice. You should see distinguish all of the grains kind of separated. If you put too much water in it or cook it on too high of a flame, it's just going to get real mushy. Trust me, I've done it once or twice while I was experimenting. And yeah, so that's why the amount of water and the temperature are one of the most important parts. Also letting it cool. So when all this water is gone and it's almost there, I'm just going to pull the lid off and we're just going to let it rest. I'm not going to mix it with my spoon quite yet. Just let it rest. That way you don't mush it with it being cooked all the way. So I think this is all done. Just going to reach in there and fluff a little bit. Yep. So if you see, that's how fast 1 cup. And you know, if it's only for you and your hubby or whatnot, 1 cup is probably going to be enough. So I'm just going to pull this off the heat. I'm just going to let it rest over here. And we'll come back to that and I'll show you the finished product on that. Essentially, that's what this is. I just did it ahead of time to save a little bit of time on the video. So this is still lukewarm. We're going to come right back to that. Okay, so now for the avocado, I'm going to go ahead and put some kitchen gloves on. Okay, for the avocado, what I like to do, you may have seen this before or have done it yourself. Just put your knife in, rotate your avocado all the way around, give it a little twist. There's your seed, kind of like that. And you just give it another twist. And there goes your seed. And then you take a spoon, just down inside, rotate it all the way around, one little shove underneath, and scooping your avocado right out. And we're going to go ahead and put that face down. We're going to slice that thin. And you can actually peel an avocado also, kind of like an orange or a grape. So you start on the outside like this. And then this is a little underripe, just a little bit. And just peel your skin right off. So you could do it either way. I always find that the getting it out with the spoon is a lot easier. Okay, so now we're just going to slice this nice and thin. Okay. I'm just going to set that off to the side. And then we're going to put a little red bell pepper in here for some color and a little crunch. And put carrots. It's endless. It truly, truly is endless what you can put inside these. Okay, so with the red pepper, I like to cut off the ends for the most part. Kind of depends on what I'm doing also, whether I'm going to use this. I'll use that as a dice, a small dice for garnish, whatnot. And then I'll just cut the bell pepper open, cut through that membrane, and just kind of roll it, cut through the next membrane. And I never keep going because then you have a chance of cutting yourself. I come back to this side, hold on to your pepper, kind of go there, get rid of the seeds and stems. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut this in half so it's a little more manageable. And then I'm going to lay it down again. And I'm going to take that whole membrane out all the way across. So we have it nice and even. And we don't have any lumps. Same thing with this one. All the way across. You lose a little bit like that, that's fine. And then again, so this is almost the size this way of your sushi roll. Or you can go like that and look, it's exact same size. So I'm going to go ahead. Doesn't have to be paper thin, about the size of a matchstick. So this is what that's what you're looking for. It's a nice little matchstick. So they've been eating sushi since the 9th century. It all started with fishermen. They used to take their fish, their catch, and they would coat it and stash it in rice. And then they would put a little vinegar on it. And like what we know is in curing, you know, your ham, that type of thing, using that as a preservative to extend the life. You know, kind of like beef jerky or smoking something, extends the life of it, cures it. And then, so there was a fisherman one time that had scraped all the rice off, and put it over in a bowl. He cut his fish up and ate it and said, "Wow, this is pretty good." Don't know if that's exactly what he said, but you get my drift. And that's kind of how it started. That same gentleman then later looked for places of travel where there was lots of foot traffic. And this gentleman started selling this right before a bridge that they would cross over in the morning and in the evening. And he started selling his sushi, and it just took off really well. All right, so I'm going to cut just a little bit more of the red pepper. Okay, I'm going to save this for a little bit later. Okay, and now we're going to work on the imitation crab. Now, it's not just because it's cheap to buy, but this is definitely something that they use in sushi restaurants also. It is a little bit cheaper, but it has that bright orange color. So when you cut into your roll, you get a little orange color. Sushi can be so pretty and colorful. And it's so simple. So, you know, your guests would think, "Oh my gosh, you took hours to do this," when the most time you spent was waiting for your rice to be ready. As you can see, I'm just about done here cutting some of my stuffing. So I'm going to go with 3 of these. I'll make it even 4. I have a few people in the kitchen that wouldn't mind trying this out. Just put my crab off to the side, and we're just about ready to start rolling. Now what I'm going to show you today is I'm going to go ahead and cut these just in half. You can put that whole piece right in there. Definitely not a problem. So I'm just going to cut that one in half. I'm going to keep the rest whole. Just put this off to the side. We're going to keep a little area here clean. We're also going to put in a little wild salmon, wild smoked salmon. I went ahead. I bought 90% of this at Fry's. This is over with all the. This is the crab and the fish were in the same area in the cold section at Fry's. It's always like on an end cap. If you have a hard time, oh, this smells so good. If you have a hard time finding anything, just ask your grocery worker. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this smoked salmon out of the package. It's on a nice little board. We're just going to set that aside here. Okay. All right. Like I said, it's so easy. Once you've mastered the rice, which, like I said, it took me like twice to realize that some of the recipes I was looking at, they were actually using too much water. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and get started. So the first thing you're going to do, go ahead and lay your bamboo shoot out, or bamboo roller out. Okay. You're going to take your seaweed wrap, your nori, and they sell these in like packs of 10. They even have bigger packs, but I just got a 10 pack. There's one roll. One piece will make about, depending on how thick you cut them, about 5-6 pieces. So I don't know if you can see this, but one side is shiny, one side is a little bit more dull. So we're going to go ahead and start with the dull side, because I'm going to turn this over and we're going to do an inside out California roll. So what you want to do first, so get your rice. And it's not a bad idea to have a bowl of water close by. You dip your fingers in it, and it will help you help your fingers from being so sticky. So I'm just going to reuse some of this water I used to rinse with. There's nothing wrong with it. But the rice will come right off your fingers, and you go right back into what you're doing. So we're just going to grab some of this rice. Put it right down in the middle there, and then you're going to start kind of just pushing it towards the ends. You don't want to really push down on it too much. And then right here at the top, we're going to leave a little space for it to seal. Okay, so you want more rice or less rice, and you definitely want to go to the edges of your paper. That way you get all of your sushi roll. There's no waste, or where, you know, it could sink in at the end. And I can already tell I'm going to need a little more rice for what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to grab some more rice. You see what I mean? I'm not pushing down on it. I'm actually kind of pulling it and pushing the rice around, putting it where I want. So my hands are getting a little sticky. The rice isn't wanting to cooperate too much with me, so I'm going to get my hands a little bit wet. And it's going to help me kind of get the rice where I would like it. You do want to make sure that it's as even as possible across, so you don't have one end that's real thin and then gets thicker at the other side. So you just want to make it so where you don't see a whole lot of the seaweed coming through. Just a tiny bit more. So we're going to probably get about 2 rolls out of this 1 cup. Okay, and on this side, we want to go ahead and bring it all the way to the edge. Okay, now at this point, we're going to go ahead and flip it over. We're going to flip it over and then put our filling in, and then we're going to roll it up. So if you can see there, pretty even. You can see little spots of black where the seaweed is there, but that's okay. Once you roll it, you won't notice, and we're good there. Okay, so because this is going to be on the outside, I'm going to go ahead and put my sesame seeds on this now. You could also do that in reverse and put your sesame seeds, say, on a little dish. And when you're all done rolling it, roll your sesame seeds, or roll your sushi and coat it with the sesame seeds. So I'm just going to take some of my sesame seeds mixed. This is also optional. You don't have to do this. So we're just going to put a decent amount there. It just makes for a really nice looking presentation. Some of these will fall off. I'm going to give it a gentle pat. Pat down those sesame seeds a little bit. Get my hands wet so the rice doesn't continue to stick to my hands. You see that? So, see? So, it is sticky. Not too bad. So we're going to give it a gentle pat. And then you hold on to the corners of your seaweed right there. Flip it right on over. And now we're going to go ahead and fill it. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the crab. We're going to put one crab piece there. I'm going to measure this to there. And then that one should fit the next piece that I put in. Now we're going to go with a little bit of green. So we're going to go with the green onion. Again, with kind of like the rice, you don't want it real thin at one end and get bigger. So you do want to distribute your filling as even as possible. There you go. And you can have it poke out the end a little bit, and that end cut will, all your items will stick up. Look kind of cool, or you can trim them off nice and neat. Okay, so we got two layers of, we got red, green. Now I'm going to go red again with the bell pepper. And you see how those pieces fit each end to end essentially. Again, it does not have to be, everything doesn't have to be perfect, just as even as possible. I'm going to scoop some of those in a little bit. Okay. We're going to go ahead and roll this one up. Let me scoop my green onion over. Now when you roll this, you want to roll and then give it a little squeeze. And you'll see here in a second what I'm talking about. Okay. So you want to bring your roll all the way over your food. Okay, like that. Give it a gentle pull back. And then you're going to pack it in there. Whoops, see? Okay. And then you're going to go ahead and roll all the way to the end. Okay. And then you want to really give it a nice squeeze. And I'll show you how you can shape this into squares, that type of thing, to just get a little bit different presentation. It does work a little better with, they have a device that you put your sushi roll into. And you push on it, and you push it all the way through this little bamboo device, and it makes it a perfect little square. Okay, so we're just going to roll that all the way around. And you see what I mean by using saran wrap, doing one wrap in that order, doing your rice on the outside can make it quite sticky. So just set that to the side, wipe that down and before my next one. So if you see right here, here's your seam. You always want to do seam side down. And that's what your sushi, you see how my rice is not falling off, it's adhered to it very well. But your fingers, again, it's going to want to stick to your fingers quite a bit. Another real important thing with sushi is using a sharp knife, because you don't want to put any pressure on the roll. You don't, so that way you're squishing it out or anything. So you just want a nice sharp knife, and then you'll get your knife a little bit wet. And then you'll start at the butt of your knife and cut straight down. You cut it in half, cut that half in half. again, cut that in half. And then you essentially just keep cutting in half until you get to the size that you'd like. Obviously, you don't want somebody to try and shove that in their mouth, huh? So, but if you see, you can see all your filling, your crab, your red peppers, your green onions. You can even see the seaweed wrap there. Okay, and we're going to give it one more cut. Now this is typically about the size that you're going to want right there. So, you know, maybe 2 bites, 3 bites or so for your guest. Okay, so I'm just going to set this off to the side there. Now, essentially, like I was saying, when it comes to your ends, you have filling all the way end to end. And then you see that one little green onion, well, you can have that bunch out. Maybe in the next one I'll show you what I'm talking about. So we're just going to set this off to the side. And you would traditionally serve this with some wasabi, a couple little dollops. You could put the dollop, if you know people like spice, put a little dollop right in the middle, or right on the sushi itself, or the California roll, or you can put it right on the plate and use some designs. Give a little swirl. Your pickled ginger. Okay, so I'm going to wash my hands off again in the water. Get the knife wet again one more time. I'm going to get one more cut out of this. So essentially, you'll get about 9 cuts out of each roll. And now I'm going to show you one that's not quite as messy with some of the same ingredients, but we're going to go ahead and use some of the smoked salmon on the inside. And we're going to do some avocado. We're going to go ahead with another thin strip of the crab. Okay, everybody. I just straightened up some stuff, got some stuff off the table that wasn't necessary. So, one thing I'm going to show you again real quick is a nice little garnish that you can do with green onions. If you had viewed my keto egg roll in a bowl, you already saw this demonstrated once. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut just the greens off the top, and you're going to cut a slit all the way down from one end to the other, just on one side. Cooperates with me. There we go. All the way down to the end. I'm going to go ahead and do 2 of those. And remember, you just want to cut one side, and you'll see the finished result why. Now, at a real strong bias, and a bias means not like this, as a bias is always at a curve. So a real strong bias, kind of like that. So almost parallel with your green onion. And we're going to go super thin. Almost as thin as you can get it. Do the same with the other one. And they're going to curl up like little hairs, and you can use it as part of an edible garnish with your sushi. So we're going to go ahead and put this now into some ice water I have right here. And then with the very end, I'm going to do similar. I'm going to cut it almost from end to end. So I don't cut right there. So 3/4 of the way through. And then we're going to rotate it. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to turn it again. Do the same thing. It doesn't have to be real perfect. And then it's going to flour. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that into some ice water. We'll come back to that in a minute. So I am going to need some more green onions for the next roll that we're going to do. So again, we're just going to take the tops. Slice those all the way down. And if you really like onion, you don't even have to worry about really cutting those. Kind of like the crab. If you don't want to cut that, you don't have to. I think on the next roll I do, we're not going to cut them. Alright, so I went ahead and wrapped my bamboo wrap in some cellophane this time. I want to get everything out from underneath. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and put my my nori, the seaweed wrap. This time I'm going to put the shiny side down, so when we roll it, it's the outside of the sushi roll. So shiny side down, and we're going to put the rice on the top here. So again, and I always find it easier to just kind of put a big clump of this right in the center there, maybe a little more. Right in the center there. You see how sticky it is? So it can be relatively sticky, but it's not because it's overcooked rice. That's what some people think. I've heard so many cooks refer to sushi as, oh, it's just overcooked rice, that's all it is. Well, those are uneducated folks. It's not just overcooked rice. It is a certain rice, Japanese short grain rice. Don't use the medium, don't use the long rice. It will fall apart, it will not work with you. And then you'll feel like you're doing something wrong. So again, I'm going to get my hands wet. We're just going to start pushing this, the same thing, all the way out to the edge, or almost to the edge in this direction. This is what's going to seal the roll. Is your rice from here is going to reach here, and that's what's going to seal it. So we're just going to keep pushing our rice to the edges. And this is kind of why when you're mixing your rice with your rice wine vinegar, this allows you right at that time to break up any big kind of clumps you might have. You still might end up with a couple of small clumps, but when you get into this part of it and keeping your hands wet, it will be much more pliable, and you'll be able to break up any smaller chunks there is. And like I was saying, so on one side of this, I'm going to have the product that I'm going to stuff it with come out one of the ends, and you'll see it can be a pretty presentation. Okay. Looks a little bit uneven, which also that is a very important one. And then right towards the end of this video, I'm going to show you a really quick one you can do. Say if you're keto and you don't want the carbs or the rice in there, they have some really neat little wraps. You just, it's kind of like a cone-shaped wrap. Okay, give my hands another little quick rinse. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to actually have the green onion I just sliced. We're going to use that to poke out the one end, and it'll look kind of like a tree or so. Never mind. We're going to let that sit in the ice water for a little longer. Okay, now for our filling. Again, we're going to use the crab. You know what, maybe I'm going to go ahead and cut this one in half. Because I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of smoked salmon inside this one. So, okay, there we go. And now, we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of avocado in this one. So we're going to go crab, some avocado. Going to give it some nice little creaminess. You can put sprigs of cilantro inside here. And we're going to go with a little bit of the red pepper. And see how easy these are? The grandkids, oh my gosh, they would have a blast doing this. You just focus on the rice, and you know, I'm not talking like 4-year-olds. Either they get bored or wouldn't quite understand what you're doing, obviously. So we're going to go ahead and check out this smoked salmon. Most of the time when you get smoked salmon, it's pre-sliced in this way, the long way. So we should be able to peel a couple pieces of this salmon right off. If I can find the beginning. Okay. So there you go. I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. And you can fill this with thin julienne carrots, or you can shred the carrots. You could shred all this, cut it up even smaller, and just put it in there in piles. All right, so here we go. We're going to go ahead and roll this up. Again, you want to bring this all the way over the food. All the way over. Obviously, the more items you put in here, the fatter your roll is going to be. Or you could do and cut your sushi paper, your nori, in half and do little mini, like a little hors d'oeuvre party that you're doing or something. It's so versatile. Now, like I said, the more items, the bigger the roll. So I'm just pulling this up. I'm going to go all the way over. And right there is where you're going to want to kind of squeeze down on it. Pull your wrap back up. You see how it's rolling? And now we're going to pull your mat at the same time and roll. And there you have it, folks. There is your California roll with your items sticking out the end there. And you'll see how that looks a little bit different after we cut it. Okay. And that's purely just for the looks. A lot of sushi places, they'll use these ends that don't look attractive, and the kitchen will eat them. It'll be little snacks for all the kitchen help. So, all right, and see how we're nice and even. We're not real fat at one end or thin at the other. Roll it all the way around. And there's our seam. That's where the rice is sticking to the seaweed. That's what makes it hold together. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing. Wet knife. We'll cut it right down the middle. Okay, cut that one down the middle. See how pretty that is? Okay. Wet again. Right in the middle. Okay, I'm going to cut this one more time. I forgot to get my knife wet. And that was a perfect example. My my sushi roll started coming undone. But if you see what I mean, all your stuff poking out the side there, makes for a nice presentation. Like you could do this at the top of your plate. Do this right up at the top of your plate. And then you would take the California roll, put one there, put another, and then another. We're just going to go with about 3. That should be plenty for an appetizer, okay? And then this is where you would use your pickled ginger. So this is ginger that's thinly, really ultra thin sliced. You can see right through it. And you'll just take a couple of pieces. You can roll them into kind of a cone shape. Tuck it right in there. Have a little pink on your plate there. But traditionally, a lot of places will just take kind of a nice little handful of this. Some places will chop it up a little smaller and they'll put a little in the corner, kind of like that. And then we'll go ahead and get to the wasabi. Wasabi is essentially horseradish. It's pretty spicy, but you definitely have to like horseradish, and you have to like spice. I don't think it comes in a mild, medium, or not hot. I've only known wasabi to be quite spicy on the palate. So you can buy the wasabi in little tiny tubes, and then, like I was saying, you could put like a little dollop right on your plate, kind of like that, or you can do a little smear or design. A little design like that. A little more on the outside. Or you can put it per se, let's go in this one here. Just put one nice little pile on the end. Okay. And then you can use something like a spoon. Let me see here, I have a little pair of tongs. And push down and give it a little swoosh. And that's what, there you go. And then your little pile of pickled ginger, put that right in the end there. And there you go, folks. My demonstration on California / sushi rolls. The differences between the two. California roll typically can be rolled either way, but most California rolls are the inside out, with the rice on the outside. They have many different things. And then sushi, true sushi, is typically has raw fish either on the inside or on the outside. And it has to be like the best of the best fish. If you were to go to your butcher, I would like sushi grade tuna or sushi grade salmon, that type of thing. They'll know exactly what you're talking about. I usually get mine at the Asian Mart. They will have an area labeled sushi tuna sushi. And I'll show you one more hors d'oeuvre type thing that you can do with this. Just take a piece of your smoked salmon. Doesn't have to be perfect, again. Okay. Okay, now we're just going to do, this is extremely simple. We can get our hands wet. Okay. Grab a little of the sushi rice, about a good sized tablespoon or so. And then we're just going to roll that up. Okay, give it a nice little press. See, and if your sushi rice isn't right, you wouldn't be able to do that with it. It would just really fall apart. Okay, and then you're going to just take that lovely smoked salmon right over the top of it. Just like that, and then your guests or yourself, you just pick that up and you would eat it with your chopsticks. You can serve your sushi with a little bit of soy sauce. You can mix a little bit of soy and sesame oil together. That's a really, really good one. Garnish that with little sesame seeds. Okay, folks, and there's my demonstration on sushi / California rolls. I hope you enjoyed the video. You have a great day, and thanks again for watching.